on, guys? I really hate to make this video, but it is what it is. So as you can see, I got a compression gauge here. That's never a good sign, but thinking that I probably foobarred something on the bike. I'm not really tripping on it because this engine had to come out anyways because of the second gear problem that I'm having. I really got to look into some billet gear options because I think I screwed up the dogs on, well, not think, I did screw up the dogs on second gear because it's pretty much unusable. So I've been pretty much putzing it around in every gear except for second, which really, it didn't really affect me too much except for like low speed honing, because mostly all of my power pulls are done in third, fourth, and fifth anyways, so it's not too bad. So I was looking, I was pretty much planning on pulling this thing out anyways, but I went for a little rip yesterday and I had a mishap, and this could be by pure coincidence too, but basically I was in a pool, I want to say maybe like 20 psi or so, and my freaking this clutch switch right here, you can see how it is pulling in and out because I think the tang broke on it that actually locks it in place. But the kicker with this is that I actually have my two-step triggered off of the clutch switch, so when it pulls out like this, it will automatically engage, which it isn't supposed to do, because it should only engage when I do this, but because of that tang being broke, it's basically allowing the switch to protrude, which in turn engages the two-step. So that actually happened in the middle of my pool, and that's usually like not a good thing. But anyways, it ended up hitting the two-step while I was WOT. Now, I don't know if this is the cause of the issue. I'm just going by, like the last thing that happened before it started acting up like this. So, I think I might just get a jump on it while the weather is like still nice outside. I want to get all this stuff pulled out because either way I got to crack into this motor and, fix the transmission issue. So, I think I'm going to start taking it apart, try to get the motor out. I'm going to check the valve lash and whatnot, and pretty much go from there. But I should be able to have this out by today. But I'll just crank it over for you guys really quick so you can see what the compression number looks like. Oh, actually, I forgot to bleed that. Let's try that one more time. So, from what I gathered from this, when I pulled the spark plug out, that actually looked pretty good. So you can see right here, I was expecting to see this like all chewed up or at least some debris on it. So this is a pretty good sign. So I did check out the spark plug hole, or looked inside the spark plug hole and tried to see what I could of the piston. And it looked pretty good. I didn't see anything that stood out, like a sore thumb or anything. So, I don't know. It's probably not rotating assembly related. Like I said, it could be a complete coincidence with the chain of events that happened. But I'm almost thinking maybe it could possibly be a valve issue. Maybe one of the valves tulipped or something like that. So either way, it's coming out, like I said. So I'm gonna get a jump on it now, and I'll probably do a little time lapse of me pulling everything off of the bike, and pretty much go from there. But my goal has already been completed with this bike. I wanted to make 100 horsepower. So the only thing you could do in this type of situation is pretty much just build it better and come back. So I'm not too down about it. At least I don't have a rod through the block, so I'm happy about that. But let's start this time lapse. All right, so this portion I actually wanted to record at normal speed just to give you guys an overview of what the actual turbo system looks like on my bike. This is probably one of the hardest challenges that we faced when this part was fabbed, because it is extremely tight, especially with the turbo being back here like this. But it's more so a piping nightmare than anything. So obviously you can see the turbo back here. This is like underneath the battery. I did put a lava blanket on the hot side, which helps substantially with heat, especially with this being under a lithium battery. It was a big deal at first to me because, you know, initially I did not have a turbine blanket on there, but I feel a lot more comfortable now with this turbine blanket because it made literally like a 350-degree temperature difference with it versus without it. So helped a ton. And I got that off of Amazon also. I think I paid like 30 bucks for it. Really good quality. Haven't had an issue out of it. Works amazing. And then obviously we have the internal wastegate. So I am still running an internal wastegate, and how I'm controlling boost is I actually have this, you can see this line right here. This is hooked up to a 3-port MAC valve, which is behind this panel right here. Yeah, I think you can see it. Yeah, it's right there. Right there. So, yeah, I can control boost electronically through my fuel tech system, which is awesome. Could do it on the fly really easily. And then heading towards the front of the bike, you can see the charge piping right here. This goes on the left or on the right side of the bike all the way up, and then you can see that crazy band right there, like that, and then it goes up to this plenum. Give you an undershot, and that's what it looks like. Typically I would not run these on a turbo car like ever, these worm clamps, but in order to put some T-bolt clamps on here, because it's like really tight up in this area because the fuel tank sits pretty close to this plenum, I had to suffice for these, and these I would say they're working pretty good because I've put like 25 psi through the bike and I've never had this tube pop off or leak or anything. So yeah, I'd say they're working pretty good. Typically I would not run these on a turbo car like ever though. Preferably it would be V-band. Since this bike has a little bit more NVH than a car would ever see, I'm kind of more keen to using flex couplers on this just to give it a little bit of, you know, flex in the piping versus being rigid and having a weld potentially crack. So I do like the couplers on applications like this a lot more than, you know, than you would typically run like on a car or something. But yeah, that's pretty much how the piping looks. That goes up to the plenum, and then the plenum is actually really easy to take off. Let me see if I got the socket over to 11. Yes, it is. So I have the plenum actually V-banded. You probably can't see it, but there is a 11mm nut like right there. That's the only thing that holds the plenum on to this throttle body tube. Man, you probably really can't see that, but I'll show you. Let me time lapse this. All right, so you can see I got my wrench through here, but all that holds this plenum to this throttle tube right here, you can actually see it right there. That's the V-band. It's like one 11mm V-band bolt. But when all this stuff was fabbed up, took good care into making sure that this stuff was serviceable, because I always think about that down the line, like please don't make this a pain in the ass to pull off. Like that's just in the back of my head every single time I do a project. But yeah, this is pretty straightforward. A lot of people probably would think it would be super hard to pull this off because of how good it's integrated into the bike, but no, this is like one of the easiest parts to get off. Just loosen those two clamps right there, and then loosen this bolt, And then once that bolt is loose, voila, it comes right off. That's the V-band right there. That is the V-band that is hooked up to this custom neck that I had made. This is actually what the injectors are. Yeah, the injectors are welded to the throttle body, and then the throttle body is actually welded to the pipe. So it's basically all one entire like unit. When I get it off, you can see it a little bit better. But you can see here, this is the IAT sensor welded into the floor of this intake plenum. I do run a little gray RTV on the mating surface of the V-band just in case that O-ring seal wears down. So that's just more so to be on the safe side, because, you know, I try to avoid pulling this off as much as possible. So I'm sure you guys probably understand why, but yeah. Alright guys, so I just pulled the fuel system off. You can see right here, this is actually my boost reference fuel pressure regulator. I am running a low dollar sensor. That's how I'm monitoring fuel pressure up into the fuel tech. And then I also have a Continental flex fuel sensor. I actually got this from Fuel Tech as well. So technically I could have like ran dual fuel on this bike with this sensor right here. I just more so used it as a way to monitor ethanol percentage, but I could have got a lot more in depth with this sensor by having it on board on the bike. And then you can see for the injectors, I actually have two individual feed lines going up and feeding their like respective injector heads. So you can see that's my primary injector right there. Then this is the secondary that comes on in boost, and those are both 4AN fed, which these lines hook up to. And then this actually gives me a much better shot at the throttle body tube that I was referring to earlier. So you can see how that is actually welded straight to the KTM throttle body, which is a drive-by-wire piece that I converted the bike over to. Best mod ever. Love it. Love it. Drive-by-wire is better than cable in every single aspect. But you can see these are some flanges that I got from my buddy Brett over at Racer's Edge in Arizona. Billet flange. That's what I used in order to weld that tube straight to it. And then you can see the actual throttle body assembly up there, which I'm about to take off in a second. Alright, so I got both bolts out for this throttle assembly now. Pull it out. And this is basically what it looks like. You can see KTM 300 Duke throttle body. I did have to modify and epoxy the plug. I basically soldered wires straight to the pins that come out of the stock plug because it couldn't clear the plenum. So that wasn't a problem. Haven't had any issues out of doing that either. And then this little tube right here too, because on the stock YZs you can actually see it right there too on the stock cylinder head. It holds the throttle body at an angle, and it makes it a complete pain in the butt to have any type of basically like V-band or cold side piping go to it because of the angle that it sits at. I know it might sound weird, but by actually making this throttle body sit straight up, like in a 12 o'clock position, it made the turbo kit a lot more simplistic as far as integrating the plenum into it, because that angularity it is a pain in the butt. That's the best way I can describe it. But yeah, so I got that off. I'm gonna get this cold side piping off, because I actually want to try to pull the valve cover and take a look at the valves, because that might be the issue that's going on here. So hopefully everything under that cover looks good. Still got to check and see if I have the correct Allen to get those bolts off, but I gotta double check. So yeah, let me get this stuff out of the way, and then I'll do a little small time lapse of me taking that off. All right, so I got this out some way, or somewhat off camera, but it is a really tight fit through here. But as you can see, this does come out with the kit fully assembled. It's actually a first for me. I didn't know I could get it out, but this is what that charge tube looks like. So it is a bit compressed right here, which isn't too big of a deal. I mean, they do make oval tubing. But yeah, that's what the charge pipe looks like. And now I have access to this valve cover, which I'm going to pull off, and hopefully there isn't a lot of carnage under here. All right, so I got the valve cover off, and surprisingly everything under here looks pretty good. I would say the only thing I do see is, let me make sure that's not, oh yeah, that's oil, never mind. I thought that was like a groove in the lobe, but yeah, these look pretty good. Everything's getting oiled properly. Both cam bearings look pretty good. I don't really see anything, you know, out of the ordinary. That's still, that's almost like it's sticking a little bit for some reason. It's kind of weird. And then this is the back side right here. But yeah, Dave over at Dave Walls Racing, he polished these cams up really good for me. They still look amazing. So these will probably get reused for sure if I don't go to like dedicated like turbo cams. But the price of those is literally like $900, and I really don't want to spend that. That's like damn near what I paid for my Hemi cam. I mean, Hemi was a little bit more, but still $900 for a pair of cams for a dirt bike. That's kind of insane. But yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of want to pressurize the cylinder and see if I can hear it leaking through any of the valve guides, or you know, leaking past the valve or something, because I don't know, nothing really stands out so far. All right, so this is pretty much where we are, or where I am with getting everything off. Next thing I'm going to do is actually pull the turbo assembly off with the hot side. I already got the turbo oil feed pulled off of the oil cap. So and then I might actually pull this mount out so I could just pull it out altogether, because I can't really get to that turbo feed fitting on the turbo itself, because this wastegate plate is blocking me from getting a wrench on there. So I just need to pull this cover off and then pull this mount out for the top mount on the turbo exhaust mount support, and get this 11mm V-band bolt off, and then the 10mm bolt right here that actually fastens the mount to the frame. So throw it on time lapse and then get all this stuff pulled off. Alright guys, so you can see this kit comes off relatively simple, so I'm gonna pull it off right now, and it is all going to come out in one shebang. Or you know what, I might actually have to pull this mount out, because I didn't pull this line off of this this little T adapter right here, because I want this to all stay as one assembly. It just makes it a little bit less guesswork when everything goes back together. But yeah, so that's all about to come off. Yeah, so if I get this mount out, I should be able to snake this between here, or I might actually just pull this off. It might be easier. But yeah, everything is still connected, and it's just like you can see like some thought was put into the kit for sure, because yeah, I try to leave everything, like multiple pieces that bolt together, I'd like to leave them as one assembly so it can just easily come on and off. So pretty sweet. So once everything is disconnected, because I actually took that little T piece off just now, yeah, it comes out pretty simple. So That line is still in there, but I mean, you can see everything is still connected. Didn't bother taking the cross member off, the coupler, nothing. So let's see if I can get that out of there. Yeah, pretty simple. One bolt there, one bolt there, V-band connection, one bolt here for the turbine outlet support, O2 sensor connection, oil line, and the charge pipe. Pretty simple, guys, pretty simple. I live by the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't have to do anything exotic. Because if you could do it in a simpler fashion without all the exoticness, it just makes the person that did it exotic look stupid. So, man, a little bit of heat in there. And then as far as getting this hot side pipe off, it's basically just 2 bolts, 2 Allen head bolts. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, guys. Man, I haven't saw my bike this bare in so long. It's so weird looking at this. Like, I'm in awe right now. I'm just so used to seeing stuff crammed in the frame. All right, guys, so I spent the last 30 minutes or so trying to find the correct Allen to get these 2 bolts out that bolt into the cylinder head. And then as far as getting the hot side out, it's pretty simple. So both of those bolts are loose. Just pull it back, rotate it, and it comes right out. Easy. So yeah, I actually think that's pretty much everything that I had to do. I already got the motor mount bolts out. The last bolt I need to knock out is this swing arm one that runs in the back of the motor through that bushing. So got to knock that out, and then throw maybe like a 6-inch socket extension in there for the time being, or even that bolt, just so the swing arm can still hold the suspension up, and the motor should come right out. So yeah, I got this done relatively fast today, and that was with I don't know, maybe take me like 2 hours to get everything to this point right here, and that was with me taking a lunch break and everything, so not too bad. But I have done this a few times, so I kind of know what to expect. So all right, guys, so I accidentally didn't have the GoPro recording, but I got the motor out. Man, pretty straightforward. I know this whole process sucks. I mean, once second gear let go on me though, like, it was pretty much like, what do I really have to lose? So I was on borrowed time anyways. Because the crazy part is, in that last YouTube video when I made that highway pull, and then that pull on the street where I hit like 20 psi both times. That was after the transmission was already broken. That was just me going from first to third, fourth, and fifth, and just skipping second. So, you know, I just wanted to get a jump on it, because I would have hate for this thing to throw a rod through this block, and then it's like, you know, I'm starting over from square one all over again. So, good thing is that a lot of this stuff looks reusable. The cams look good, caps look good, everything. Nothing sticks out to me. But tonight this will be in a separate video, or a follow-up video after I post this one tonight. But yeah, so I'll try to get the head off in the next video, get the jug off, inspect everything, because I am kind of curious to see how this thing has been running, because I probably have like, actually, you know what, last time I checked, I have like 70 hours on this new engine. 70 hours. I probably spent like 5 to 6 of those hours trying to figure out the fuel tech system early on. And then, like, I was kind of a little worried about this setup starting out, because just trying to get it to run on the fuel tech, and this was more so self-inflicted because I just wasn't familiar with the setup. I washed down the cylinder a bunch. So like in the back of my head when I was out like riding and stuff, I would always wonder if I had actually given up some horsepower by, you know, washing down the cylinder a bunch of times. Like, because who's to say, like, I never actually saw the bike like smoking or, you know, blowing anything out of the tailpipe, but who's to say if these rings were actually sealing as good as they, you know, possibly could have. Because early on, yeah, I milked this oil a bunch. So I mean, at the very least, if I put it together and find out everything is good other than that second gear, it's definitely getting a new stock bore jug, definitely. So but yeah, guys, definitely look out for the follow-up video. This one I'll try to get out tonight. This will be a same day shoot, same day upload. Yeah, till next time, see if we can make some more power on this thing.